My name is Anthony Beets. I'm going to be covering doing a lesson plan today on the welded frame scaffold. What we're going to do today is we're going to construct a single bay frame scaffold. I've got all the material set out here. Upon completion, our students will be able to erect a single bay scaffold confidently, and then we'll use that as a foundation to build on top of. Let's go ahead and go over the scaffold parts here. We've got our mud sills. Your mud sills need to be at least 2 by 10, 2 inches by 10 inches, with a minimum length of 18 inches. We've got our X bracing right here, pigtails, locking pins. These are our screw jacks, 2 welded frame ends, and our free walk board. Some of the basic tools you're going to need are the hammer, tape measure, torpedo level, and 16-penny double head nails. Before I start construction of the welded frame scaffold, I would have my students watch an instructional video presented by Safeway Scaffold on the sectional scaffold. We always want to remember safety before we get started here, so we'll cover PPE. We want to make sure we have our hard hat, safety glasses, and gloves. Another thing you want to do when you're considering safety, you want to check your scaffold parts. You're checking for defects, nicks. You want to make sure that nobody has painted over scaffold parts to hide defects, things like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to get into the actual construction of the scaffold. We're doing a single bay scaffold. We're keeping it simple today. If you had a more intricate scaffold build, you would want to study your prints, make sure that you understand the parts and pieces involved, and get a general overview before you start construction to kind of see any problems you would have before you start. Okay? So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mud sill, I'm going to nail my screw jacks to the mud sills. Using our double head nails. When you do this, you just want to center your screw jack on the mud sill. You can nail on opposite corners. If I put a nail there, one nail on the opposite corner would be sufficient.
What you just say?
I don't really, that doesn't seem like a compliment.
Alright, now that we've got our screw jacks nailed onto our mud sills there, we're just going to take and we're going to set those out roughly where they need to go. One thing to consider when you're getting your screw jacks and mud sills ready is going to be the height there. I've preset them all to about 6 inches off the ground. I want to make sure and leave enough room here at the bottom so that I can adjust it after I'm finished. to make sure that our scaffold is plumb and level. If we have the screw jack all the way down to the bottom and we need to adjust it down farther, we don't have enough room for that. So I've adjusted them all up about 6 inches so they're all about the same height. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my frames, the end frame, and I'm going to set it in. At this point, you want to remember to be careful. These things can be top heavy at this point because we don't have anything braced. Be sure you've got your PPE on in case something happens. Now that I've got my end frame scaffold set up in place, we're going to use cross bracing to connect them. At this point, we've got our scaffold set up in place, but it's not square, it's not plumb, it's not level yet. If we had a gooser bar goes right here, we would connect that to the scaffold across to the other corner, and that would actually square up the scaffold. What we're going to do in this situation, since we don't have a gooser bar, we're going to use the walk boards. I'll put one walk board up there, and that will help us square the scaffold. Now that I've put all 3 walk boards on top, that helps keep this scaffold square. It can't move and become unsquare. But you can kind of see right now with the screw jacks not being in place where they need to be, the scaffold's not plumb, it's not level, and it's not sturdy. That's what we want to fix. We're going to use our level. If I place my level on top here in the front, I can see how far out of level it is, and either raise or lower the screw jacks to get where I need it. Now that I've got the front level there, I can move over to the side and work from there. I'm going to continue to work around the scaffold. I've got the front level, I've moved over to the side, now I'm going to move to the back. all the way around the scaffold, you can tell that it's much more sturdy. You can check it for plumb, make sure all of your readings are good. Made a few minor adjustments to make sure the scaffold is plumb. You want to be sure that your scaffold is on a firm foundation. That's why we use the mud sills. We check it for plumb and level, because if you continue to build from there, you need your scaffold to be true, plumb and level. The last thing I'm going to do before I finish here, I use locking pins, put in the top. With my pigtails to hold them in place. These pigtails will lock down. You want to make sure they're locking down and not up. If I took this and I put it upside down and tried to lock it in that way, the force of gravity, if this thing vibrates, could knock the locking pin down and eventually vibrate out. I want to make sure I put it in there the right way so the pigtail falls down, gravity holds it in place. We put these locking pins in place so that we can build on top of this scaffold if we need to continue going up multiple levels. This is a basic single bay scaffold. We could continue on in either direction or up higher depending on what we need for the job. One thing to remember, now that we've got it completed here, there's wind clips on the bottom of the walk boards. I'm going to walk around and I'm going to make sure these wind clips are in place. I'll show you without the wind clip. These things could lift up and flip off. Once I put these wind clips in place, hold your walk board more sturdy, more in place so it can't flip up and eventually come off. Okay? Let's do a bit of review. We want to make sure we review all the safety. You want to watch for pinch points when you're putting your walk boards on, when you're snapping your cross braces in place. Watch your fingers, watch for pinch points. That's why we wear gloves. Make sure we have safety glasses when you're nailing, hard hat so you don't have materials falling on top of you. Check all your scaffold components for rust, painting, damaging, dents, anything like that. Make sure the components you're using are in good working condition. At this point, I would verbally walk through all of the steps to build this scaffold, and I would ask, I would utilize why questions. Why did we level it? Why did we plumb it? Why did we have our wind clips in place? For the evaluation process, I would allow students 30 minutes to construct a single bay scaffold. Upon completion, I would walk around, visually inspect the scaffold to be sure it's plumb, level, and square, and all scaffold components are used correctly. I think that's it. And just stop.